John Stones' Inter Milan move leaves Manchester City facing a defensive question. Tablo Sports has the confirmed move, Arsenal's £80 million expectation, and Liverpool's Barcola obstacle. We start with Stones, because Manchester City have just lost control of their depth chart. Manchester City have lost a trusted defender without a fee, and the next headline suddenly feels far more expensive. John Stones seals Inter Milan move from Manchester City. This is a real transfer, so the debate can finally move past rumor noise and into squad planning. Inter Milan are getting a defender who can play in a back four or step into midfield, while Manchester City are losing useful depth for nothing. The free transfer looks tidy for Inter Milan, but it leaves Manchester City carrying the risk if injuries arrive together. John Stones has joined Inter Milan from Manchester City on a free transfer, signing a 2-year contract with the Serie A club. That status matters, because this isn't an ongoing negotiation being dressed up as breaking news. It's official. Stones is an Inter Milan player now, and Manchester City have allowed a high-profile former Premier League defender to leave without a transfer fee. For Inter Milan, the attraction's obvious. Stones can defend space, play through pressure, and step into midfield when the structure asks for it. That flexibility fits a team that often wants its defenders to read the game 2 passes ahead, rather than just win headers and clear danger. He doesn't have to be treated like an old-school center back nailed to the penalty area. Inter Milan can use him as a calm distributor, a cover option, or the extra player who helps the build-up escape an aggressive press. There'll be fair questions about rhythm and availability, because a 2-year deal says Inter Milan are buying experience while keeping the commitment controlled. Still, the tactical fit is stronger than the lazy version of the story, where an English defender is simply taking a late career trip abroad. Stones has the passing range to matter in Italy, where the first pass from defense can decide whether a team attacks cleanly or spends the next minute defending its own mistake. Manchester City supporters will look straight at the fee, and honestly, they should. A free transfer can be sensible if a player no longer fits the manager's plans, but it gets uncomfortable when the same club may soon need to replace his versatility in a market where dependable defenders cost serious money. Depth isn't glamorous until 2 starters are unavailable and the bench suddenly looks like a group chat with no administrator. That bites quickly. Inter Milan have their defender. Arsenal may be preparing to take Newcastle United's midfield heart. Bruno Guimaraes expected to join Arsenal from Newcastle. Expectation is doing the heavy lifting here because Bruno Guimaraes remains a Newcastle United player and the move isn't confirmed. Arsenal would gain press resistance and leadership, while Newcastle United would lose a captain whose value reaches beyond his passing numbers. A reported price of up to £80 million would make this a statement signing, but the statement only exists once the deal is completed. There is growing expectation that Bruno Guimaraes will join Arsenal this summer, with a reported deal potentially worth up to £80 million. BBC Sport and Sky Sports have reported that expectation, but the sentence supporters can't skip is simple. Guimaraes remains a Newcastle United player, and Arsenal haven't completed the transfer. On the pitch, Arsenal would be buying control. Guimaraes can receive under pressure, protect the ball in tight midfield spaces, and give a team the kind of emotional edge people usually call leadership once a huge fee has been paid. He'd give Arsenal another player who can dictate tempo instead of just chasing whatever the match has become. Newcastle United would have a structural problem if the expectation becomes reality. Guimaraes is captain, organizer, and one of the player's opponents build plans around. Replacing his position wouldn't be enough. Newcastle United would have to replace the voice, the aggression, and the ability to make difficult possession look routine. That's a brutal job. So enjoy the Arsenal headline carefully. It may be moving toward a deal, but it isn't an Arsenal announcement yet, and £80 million puts pressure on every first touch once the shirt is on. If you're an Arsenal fan, the excitement's real, but the paperwork still has to catch up. Arsenal's expectation is still unfinished business. Liverpool's problem is more specific, and that's usually more dangerous. Romano reveals issue holding up Liverpool move for PSG winger Bradley Barcola. Liverpool's interest in Bradley Barcola hasn't disappeared, but the latest report says a defined issue is delaying the possible move. That detail matters more than another recycled link because recruitment timelines collapse when one unresolved point blocks every alternative decision. Paris Saint-Germain can use the delay to protect their position, while Liverpool risk reaching the late window with fewer elite winger options. Liverpool remain interested in Paris Saint-Germain winger Bradley Barcola, according to a report carried by Football 365, but a reported issue is holding up the potential transfer. The report doesn't confirm personal terms, an agreement, a fee, or a completed move. Barcola remains a Paris Saint-Germain player, and Liverpool's interest is still stuck in that awkward middle ground between serious and finished. That obstacle is the fresh information. A specific issue holding up the move tells us negotiations have reached a point where somebody isn't accepting the current arrangement, whether that's the structure of the deal, the club's position, or another detail reported without a final resolution. We shouldn't fill the gap with a made-up number just because transfer reporting loves a dramatic price tag. Barcola would bring direct running, wide threat, and the ability to attack defenders before they settle into a defensive block. That profile could change the competition for attacking places at Liverpool, but one target can't be allowed to freeze the rest of the recruitment plan. That's how windows get messy. Supporters are split between paying a premium and moving to alternatives, and you can understand both sides. A winger can change the attack, but an unresolved negotiation can also turn deadline day into a frantic search through the bargain aisle. Paris Saint-Germain have the player, Liverpool have the clock. Liverpool's clock is ticking. Manchester City's clock is being held deliberately. Manchester City are not rushing Rodri sale despite reported Real Madrid talks. The headline isn't that Rodri is heading to Real Madrid. The reported story is that talks are active while Manchester City refuse to rush a sale. That stance protects City's leverage and stops replacement speculation from becoming a public admission that Rodri is leaving. Real Madrid may want clarity, but Manchester City still control the timing because Rodri remains their player and no fee or agreement has been reported. Reported talks involving Rodri and Real Madrid are active, but Manchester City aren't accelerating a potential sale. Rodri remains a Manchester City player, and there's no confirmed fee or agreement. So this is a story about resistance, not an imminent unveiling in Madrid. Manchester City know exactly what happens when a club looks desperate. The selling side gets asked to name its price, name its replacement, and name the announcement date, usually while everyone pretends the process is calm. By refusing to rush, City can keep the decision attached to sporting conditions instead of letting the loudest rumors set the calendar. For Real Madrid, the appeal is obvious. Rodri gives control in front of the defense and can make a team feel stable when matches turn chaotic. But Madrid's interest doesn't decide the deal. Manchester City have to consider what losing their central midfielder would do to the entire structure, especially after allowing John Stones to leave for Inter Milan on a free transfer. Manchester City may be planning for a future without Rodri, but monitoring a young midfielder isn't proof that the current one is leaving. But Rodri's future still controls the biggest Manchester City question. If the club sells too early, the midfield becomes a problem overnight. If it waits too long, the market may close around them. Liverpool are already balancing a winger negotiation. Now Joe Gomez's injury puts pressure on the back line. Joe Gomez expected to miss Liverpool's Premier League opener through injury. Gomez is expected to miss Liverpool's Premier League opener after a muscle problem in pre-season, but the report doesn't call the injury season-ending. Liverpool aren't expected to sign a replacement because of this setback, which leaves the club trusting its existing defensive options. The risk isn't one missed match on its own, it's the possibility that a short absence exposes a thin rotation plan early in the campaign. Joe Gomez is expected to miss Liverpool's Premier League opener after suffering a muscle problem in pre-season. Sky Sports reports that Liverpool aren't expected to sign a replacement as a direct response, and there's no precise return date available. That decision will frustrate supporters who already want more defensive cover, especially with Bradley Barcola's possible move also taking up attention. A preseason muscle problem doesn't automatically justify another signing, but it does remove a versatile option during the first competitive test, when new systems are usually at their most fragile. Bad timing, that. Liverpool have chosen not to let one projected absence rewrite the window. Sensible, perhaps. Risk-free? Absolutely not. If Gomez's recovery takes longer than expected, the pressure moves from the medical room to the recruitment department, and the late market rarely rewards calm planning. City's answer is colder. They might be planning years ahead, not tomorrow morning. Manchester City eye Lille midfielder Bouaddi as a potential Rodri replacement. Manchester City are reportedly monitoring Lille midfielder Bouaddi as a potential Rodri replacement, but no bid or agreement has been reported. Bouaddi is a succession candidate, not an immediate substitute for one of the world's most influential midfielders. The report shows City are thinking about the next cycle, while fans are understandably asking whether a teenager can carry a role that currently belongs to Rodri. Manchester City are reportedly interested in Bouaddi, with the Lille midfielder viewed as a potential replacement for Rodri. Bouaddi remains a Lille player, and this is interest rather than an official bid or advanced negotiation. That distinction matters. A young midfielder can have the technical base to become elite while still needing time, minutes, and a less ridiculous burden than being introduced as Rodri's replacement. Football clubs love the phrase succession plan because it sounds clever. Then supporters hear it and picture a teenager walking straight into the most demanding position on the pitch. For Manchester City, monitoring Bouaddi makes sense if the club expects the midfield to change over the next few seasons. It gives scouts time to judge whether his decisions, defensive reading, and physical development fit the role. It doesn't solve the immediate question created by any possible Rodri departure, and it certainly doesn't confirm that departure. The smart move would be to separate those two decisions. Find the long-term profile, then protect the present team with a player capable of handling the current workload. Otherwise, City could end up asking potential to perform like certainty. Chelsea's striker situation is attracting eyes from outside the club, even without a formal offer. 3 Premier League clubs reportedly monitoring Chelsea striker Liam Delap. 3 Premier League clubs are reportedly monitoring Liam Delap, but there is no accepted bid or completed transfer. Chelsea have a reason to protect the striker because competition for places can become a recruitment argument against the player himself. The unnamed clubs create intrigue, not certainty, and the late window pressure will grow if Delap's minutes look vulnerable. BBC Sport reports that 3 Premier League clubs are watching Chelsea striker Liam Delap. Delap currently plays for Chelsea and there's no confirmed offer, accepted bid, or transfer agreement. The interested clubs haven't been identified, so anyone presenting a neat list of destinations is decorating the story with details that aren't there. The real question is Chelsea's squad management. Delap needs a clear route to meaningful minutes, but Chelsea also have to balance competition and development without making every alternative striker feel like a threat. If a club invests in a forward and then responds to outside interest by weakening his pathway, the problem isn't the rumor, it's the planning. For now, monitoring is just monitoring. Still, 3 clubs looking at one striker can become serious pressure if injuries or selection decisions change the picture. Chelsea's answer will show whether Delap is part of the plan or simply part of the squad. One young defender has already found his next step, and Manchester United have allowed it to happen abroad. Tyler Fredricson joins Lausanne Sport from Manchester United. Tyler Fredricson has joined Lausanne Sport from Manchester United on a reported permanent 3-year deal. The move gives Fredricson a new environment, while Manchester United lose control of his weekly development inside the academy system. Supporters are asking about future protections, but no sell-on or buyback clause has been reported, so the discussion has to stay with the confirmed move. Tyler Fredricson has joined Lausanne Sport from Manchester United on a 3-year deal, with the transfer reported as permanent. He is now a Lausanne Sport player, not a current Manchester United defender, and the move starts a new chapter away from England. That can be a useful route for a young player who needs senior football, although his exact role at Lausanne Sport hasn't been confirmed. Manchester United fans will naturally wonder whether the deal includes a future pathway, but no buyback or sell-on clause should be invented to make the transfer sound more carefully designed than the evidence allows. That's where discipline matters. The broader academy question is blunt. A pathway only matters if a young defender can reach competitive minutes and a club can track the development properly. Fredricson has the move. The next test is what Lausanne Sport can actually offer him on the pitch. The market doesn't operate in a vacuum. Even the rules can change which players clubs want. Premier League clubs prepare for new rules before the 21 August kickoff. Premier League clubs are preparing for the 2026-27 season and its new rules before the scheduled 21 August kickoff. The report provides competition context, not a transfer confirmation or guarantee that one club will gain an advantage. Recruitment departments will still have to judge whether their squads can adapt to the revised demands once matches begin. Premier League clubs are preparing for new rules ahead of the 21 August kickoff. This is about the 2026-27 campaign, but it doesn't identify a specific club or player, and it isn't evidence of a transfer. That matters because rule changes can influence recruitment without appearing on a transfer announcement. Clubs may value players who read space quickly, manage restarts cleanly, or cope with a different match rhythm. But until the exact effects are clear in competitive games, anyone promising a guaranteed tactical winner is selling confidence in a nice jacket. The practical issue is adaptation. Managers have to train the details, players have to adjust habits, and recruitment teams have to avoid buying for a rulebook they haven't fully tested. The season starts on 21 August, so the first consequences arrive quickly. And now the loudest rumor of the day needs the quietest read-ins. Jack Grealish linked with a move from Manchester City to Al Hilal. Jack Grealish remains a Manchester City player, while Al Hilal are only the reported destination at this stage. There is no confirmed agreement or formal bid, so claims about personal terms, salary, or a transfer fee would be guesswork. The rumor matters because Grealish's uncertain role intersects with City's wider squad reshuffle, but the headline has run ahead of the paperwork. Jack Grealish has been linked with a move from Manchester City to Al Hilal, with the report carried by The Guardian. The evidence doesn't confirm a formal bid, an agreement, or personal terms. Grealish remains a Manchester City player, and he isn't an Al Hilal player waiting for a medical that nobody has announced. That doesn't make the story irrelevant. Grealish's role at Manchester City is a genuine squad question, and a Saudi Pro League approach could offer a route out if the club and player decide the fit has run its course. But a possible destination isn't a completed plan. Transfer rumors often sprint ahead because the names are famous and the graphics are free. Very convenient, that. Manchester City would have to weigh the football against the squad reset. Grealish still brings ball retention, carries, and the ability to slow a match when the team needs control. If he leaves, City lose a specialist who could hold the left side and draw defenders toward him. So the report's consequence is simple. It adds another decision to Manchester City's summer, alongside the confirmed loss of John Stones and the unresolved Rodri situation. John Stones' Inter Milan move leaves Manchester City facing a defensive question, and the answer now depends on whether Manchester City trusts their remaining options or rebuild the position. Manchester City's reshuffle now has real pressure behind it, with Stones gone and Rodri still unresolved. Next, watch whether Liverpool's stalled Barcola move forces a late window pivot.